Hello, Tim from Fair Play now on the 6th of March 2025, and yet another gorgeous, beautiful day here in southeast England. Really enjoying this weather, and it's actually getting pretty warm now, relatively speaking. 15, 16 degrees here, which when you've been used to 5, 6, 7 degrees at the most for the last few months is really nice, I can tell you. And yeah, we are having a lot of really beautiful weather at the moment, and yeah, it kind of reminds me of something though. The weather we had March of 5 years ago during the first lockdown. I suppose you could call it lockdown weather or lockdown spring weather, but we do still need to be on the lookout for government tyranny. And the reason why I'm thinking that is I saw a very recent video from Mark Devlin, who many people know. If you don't know him, his musical truth books are well worth reading. But yeah, he put out a video, I think it's about 3 days ago, called Tyranny Returns to Australia, or words to that effect. And apparently they've got an infestation of fire ants, something called fire ants. And I think this relates to the bottom end of Queensland and the top end of the state south of Queensland, which I think is New South Wales. Could be wrong on that, don't quote me on that, but the one below. And they've got this infestation, and the government are using it as an excuse to become pretty tyrannical again. Apparently what they're doing is kind of sending their agents in to fumigate farms and small holdings and homes and gardens more out in the countryside. And if you turn around and say, no, sorry, I don't want this, they'll just break into your property and do it anyway. So apparently that's what's going on out there. Mark has said it's important to call this out and to spread the news of it far and wide. So I'm doing as he kind of requested by reporting on this. So if you're in that part of Australia or any part of Australia and you know about this, please do leave a comment in the comment section below. It'd be nice to learn more about it. But what Mark was also saying on his video was apparently there's quite a lot of pushback going on. People are kind of grouping together, and when these people, these agents come around to a property, they'll all gather around and basically tell them to get lost, I suppose. And that is what's going on. There's a fair bit of pushback going on there, and I think we've learnt the lesson of 5 years ago. If the government try and become tyrannical, we just need to stand up to them, push back, and send them packing. And it's looking pretty good at the moment that that's what's going to happen with this latest round of tyranny in Australia. But yeah, we really need to get away from this mentality of oh yeah, there's a bit of pestilence going on here, there's an infestation over there, there's a lurgy floating around, therefore we need to let the government sort it out, we need to do whatever they say to get over this problem. No, we can't do that, because all that will happen is, first of all, the government will use it as a green light for tyranny, as we saw 5 years ago, and then they will keep on doing it, because if you give them an excuse to react tyrannically every time a problem comes along, well, guess what? The problems will just keep coming along pretty much constantly, full time, so that they've got an excuse to be tyrants full time. And the one thing we need to fear isn't pestilences, it isn't lurgies, but it is tyrannical government, heavy-handed government. That is the biggest thing we need to worry about. Everything else, including deadly lurgies, comes a very distant second, and we cannot let these people use such things as an excuse to get away with tyranny. I've banged on about this on this channel. If you've been a regular viewer, I bang on about this kind of subject a lot. but I really do believe it passionately. We really do need to be on our guard against any form of government. I used to think, well, yeah, maybe it only applied to places like China and Korea and the Soviet Union, the Eastern Bloc, those sort of governments. But our governments, you wouldn't get any tyranny here because they're democratic. They believe in freedom. They believe in democracy and all of that sort of thing. That illusion has been well and truly shattered, and every government, doesn't matter what colour it is, what type it is, where it is, they are all something to be very, very wary of indeed. And if only we could just get rid of about 95% of government, I think every country would still function perfectly fine, probably better, to be honest with you, if we just lost 95% of government bureaucracy, institutions, civil service, and all of the rest of it can just go, and we just need the most basic amount of government, really, just to carry on trade relations with other countries and that kind of thing. And that really is all I think we need government for. So but I'm just having a little bit of a go here about tyrannical government, because it is kind of coming up for the 5th anniversary of when the tyranny started in this country, and because of this Mark Devlin thing that he was talking about in Australia. It looks like if they've got an excuse, or they think they've got an excuse, they will use it. So we just need to push back and just tell them where to go. And if you didn't see my video yesterday, there is an event, so I'll mention this again, up in London. It's right where Downing Street is, so just make your way to Whitehall where Downing Street is. This coming Sunday, 9th of March at 1 p.m. There is going to be a little bit of a demonstration. It's actually an alternative COVID Day of Remembrance. We're not going to be kind of having a remembrance as the powers that shouldn't be want, as the government want. We're going to do it our own way, and we're going to sort of say the things we should be remembering is how the government tried to take over, tried to go full-on authoritarian, and how we pushed back against it and sent them packing. So if you can make it to London, do get up there on Sunday, and I'll see you there. And just going back to Mark Devlin, apparently he's got a new book out, and it's called No One's Dad's a Plumber, which, if you've seen any of his recent talks, you'll understand where he's coming from. If not, what it refers to is basically all of these many of these famous singers, band members, and all of the rest of it, they've got some backgrounds which you wouldn't necessarily think they would have. Not that most of them don't. They kind of bang on about how they're from a working class background and they've struggled and come up from nothing, being on the dole or whatever, to becoming a famous band and all of that kind of thing. That's what we've been fed by these bands, etc., for the last sort of 60 years or so. And but what Mark Devlin talks about in his Musical Truth books and talks and things is how that's really not the case. It's just so many of these band members and famous singers and artists, far from coming from a kind of a working class background, they're from a much more middle class background, and often their dads are things like admirals, generals, judges, all kinds of things like that, sort of influential people. So Mark has written this book with a very tongue-in-cheek title, No One's Dad's a Plumber, because they're always the sort of much higher up people. They're never, as you'd think, plumbers, dockers, builders, warehouse workers, lorry drivers or anything like that, as you'd expect. They are always these more high up people. So it's just one of these many weird things, one of these many weird anomalies which Mark is so good at highlighting. So what I'll try and do is get a link to his book in the sort of description box below here. So if you want to go and check that out, do so. Just thought I'd give Mark a little bit of a shout out. It's been a while since I've seen him or been to any of his events, filmed any of his events. Wouldn't mind getting back to seeing his latest stuff at some point this spring. And yeah, I'll leave you to it. And if you're going to London on Sunday 1 p.m. near Downing Street there, I'll see you there. Tim from Fair Play now. Thanks for watching.